as Beast Coast does. Neither team won really last week because, well, Beast Coast picked up 1 point and XSET picked up 2 from their overtime victory. Mirage, though, on the other hand, started the day in third place. The Sonics vaulted over them with their victory in the earlier matchup. Mirage now sits at 9 points, and with a victory here over XSET, would launch themselves up into second place, 1 spot behind Space Station and 1 point behind Space Station as well. And Space Station plays TSM in our very final matchup of the day. I am bummed that we are not casting that, but I will be watching it with great anticipation. Operator bans are in, Michael, and does anything stand out to you?
The Flores ban. So, I mean, this is Cafe. I could see a lot of useful applications of Flores on this map. Get rid of it if you think that's going to be a problem for you. And that's what we saw done here by XSET. Their second ban will be Wamai. So more pressure put on the Jaeger. It's going to be a much more relevant operator moving forward. Last ban, probably Valkyrie, be my guess. No, it's Mira. All right. So it's one or the other. Usually these days, you got to get rid of one of those ops. And Valkyrie and play on Cafe. Parker, that's going to make for an interesting Cafe, frankly. This is one of her better maps.
No, absolutely it will. And we've seen when Valkyrie is available, a lot of teams don't pick IQ the same way that we would expect them to. They instead just coordinate on drone. They use their callouts and try to determine the location of these black eye cams, because there aren't a ton of places on this map where you can throw one of those cams that you won't necessarily find. Yeah, there's still some cheeky angles here or there, but destruction and fragging potential are requisite when it comes to a map like Cafe, and sacrificing that soft destruction for an operator like IQ who doesn't have access to frag grenades anymore, need I remind everybody? I can hear people weeping watching the broadcast right now, means that you have to bring something different. Now, Razor on Ashe is just a bit odd because over the last couple of weeks after the nerf to Ashe's recoil, making her recoil harder to navigate, and also reducing her utility in terms of explosives, her pick rate has fallen like a stone, and instead Yana's pick rate has jumped up. Flores, obviously, who is banned, saw a healthy rise in his pick rate, and also Sledge and Zofia being constants. So this will be something to keep an eye on, and whether Razor can live up to the mantle of being Ashe main. We'll see. As for Mirage, well, they brought an Echo and a Castle. Those are the only two things that would really jump out to the average player watching what will be a defense of Kitchen down on the first floor.
About the G36C, I was wondering. Yeah,
what about it?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, you mentioned the recoil change. It's true, it pushed a lot of people off of the R4C. Not everyone, mind you, but a lot of people. And some are just adopting the G36C. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I think we got the Zofia nerf coming, right? That's up next. Next it's gonna be Yana. So I wouldn't be surprised if they nerfed the G36C's recoil. Or maybe they just, I don't know, took away your nades. So we'll see. Anyway, Creators entering in upstairs. We'll take a little bit of damage from Nyx, I think, down below. They gets into the building. Top floor control well in hand here for the attackers. The drones are set up well to facilitate this. Benji's going to try and fall back on white stairs, and he's done a good job of just that. No casualties here from Mirage as XSET gets their top control.
I don't know what damage was done to Creators earlier on. You heard the yelp from Zofia, and no, I'm not talking about reviews. A very telltale sign. It wasn't really intended as a joke, but I appreciate your laughter anyway, Michael. Top-down clears for Cafe are the standard, so once you get that third floor under control, then you look towards the second floor, and then you go down to the ground floor, which is where, as I noted before, that's exactly where they'll be defending. And playing off of this spot, hunkered down, not really expending too many of the defenders past a doorway or so away from the site. In fact, as we just saw, all 5 players from Mirage are very conveniently tucked into but a couple feet away from the site and can get back very aggressively and very quickly if needed. All the while, XSET realized this, and they're doing some significant damage upstairs on that second floor.
So that's why they brought Ashe, by the way. One thing that Ashe can do still that, you know, Zofia could do, but not quite as well, is open up those really big holes in walls from a distance. So, seems like XSET wanted to open quite a lot of those holes, the soft destruction, and the vertical has now played a big role here in locking up Mirage's positioning, but as you can see, they still have yet to lose a body. That is not great for XSET. All this investment in time in the top clear. Oh, and there it is. Thomas gets the lead off. Dream on the floor. That's exactly what XSET was looking for. Now with only 30 seconds left, they still need to get the plant down, but look at that. There's a yokai above Jarvis right now. Should be able to stop this plant cold in its tracks. We'll see in just a moment. Loading on the yokai, and there it is. Well timed. With only 15 seconds left, they need to find that drone, shoot it, and facilitate the plant. Oh, bad move to reposition, but there's a second yokai. We're running out of time here for XSET. They have to get the plant down, and what a perfect push there from Quartz. He'll stop the plant, but it doesn't matter, it seems. All of the kills come in at the dying second. What a hectic round, but XSET will win it despite all of the denial.
Yeah, extremely odd the way that worked out. Mirage obviously wanting to give up Freezer, wanting to give up the back of Kitchen, and instead playing off of Bakery and Prep and playing off of Wedding, or what different teams will call it. So you situate yourself there, and you anticipate that they're going to take control of Freezer. They're going to grab the hatch. If they get the wall into Freezer, perfect. Doesn't really matter because you can take control of Freezer as XSET, and then you try to plant by the safety of the bomb chassis, which is where Jarvis did, and that's why they had to play that game of whack-a-mole with the various yokai drones bobbing up and down. All the while, XSET never loosened their grip on that second floor, and were able to hold on to the angles that had been set up earlier by the soft destruction of the various XSET players, which allowed somebody like Thomas to continue to lord over the team as they got the objective down. Unfortunately for Mirage, they were really heavily invested in those yokais, and the moment that they got taken out of the fray, everybody from Mirage had to reposition, moving from Bakery up to the bomb site, and XSET was prepped and ready for that, isolating the members and then taking them down one by one in the flurry of the final 3 kills all going towards XSET. Ultimately, quite a strong round from XSET on a map that is, for the moment, skewing a little bit towards the defenders, a 54% success rate for defenders compared to 46 for the attackers. So it's just the first sight, but it is something to keep an eye on as we currently have a technical pause.
The waiting will out. Seems like it's an issue with the comms, so we'll get that sorted and we'll get this back up and running. First round, though, really could have gone either way. I like the layers that we saw for Mirage's defense, but they were interestingly positioned. There's some simpler ways to address the problems that XSET presented, yeah? If XSET's going to go for a vertical play, actually roam. What we saw from Mirage read their roam is just a, hey, we're going to shoot and fall back. It didn't affect any change on the actual execution. That's problematic if you are Mirage, because you're essentially giving ground. It's the same thing we talked about pre-SI, during SI, and then post-SI as being one of the problems with North America's playstyle on defense. They're too quick to fall back. They give up too much free ground. And it's an odd thing to see when you, especially when you compare to other regions which typically don't do that nearly as much. It made a big difference at SI for North America's international performance. Now, many teams learned from that and moved on. That round just now, I don't think reflects that learning, because Mirage fell back really quickly. And granted, they had a cool plan. I like the plan that they had. It's neat. Yokai drones in denial. It didn't work though. So yeah, they're gonna need to figure something else out. And this technical timeout, but this technical pause is going to be, I guess, a good time for the players to converse and figure out what they want to do moving forward.
Well, the teams do have an opportunity to talk to each other. Somebody like Jarvis coming on to XSET, his stats in the server haven't been anything extraordinary over his last couple steads at a top level of play, but what he does bring is a level of leadership, maturity, and understanding of the game that is frankly hard to rival for a lot of the players who don't have even remotely close to the same experience that he does. And you mentioned it, he is a relic. He's been around for a long, long time, almost the same age as me for what it's worth. And
I'm 45.
Are you saying that he's 45 years old?
No, you said he's been around for a long, long time. I said 45.
45 what?
45. Parker.
Okay. I don't know what's wrong with you, but anyway. We're back into the game, and we'll get started with our... Sorry.
Cheers, Thomas.
Okay. Anywho, what Jarvis lacks in terms of actual fragging potential in this server, he's going to provide a huge boon to this team in terms of leadership. I would go so far as to say that in terms of in the server, Drip is a more formidable player than Jarvis. But does Drip have the same mind, the same shot calling, etc. that Jarvis brings to the table? I can't speak to that. I don't play on the team, but I know that from testimonials of previous teammates that Jarvis does bring a lot in that regard, being able to keep a cool head, being able to call on the fly and lead the team forward. So obviously any kind of downtime that you find, anybody with a good understanding of the game and experience is going to help a ton. On Mirage's side of things, well, Nyx is, I would argue, the most tenured player over on Mirage, and he's somebody that was talked about on the desk as being a significant improvement on Mirage, as has Loading, even though Loading is one of the newer players onto this team in terms of experience. That said, we're in round number 2, and it's going to be a cocktail defense upstairs for Mirage.
No, there's a lot more pressure put on the Jaeger ADSs when you do have that Wamai ban, and when you're leaning into a castle shield strategy like what we see here, you got the Goyo shields being brought, you got the castle. That does really change the way that you're going to set up, and that might be part of why XSET brought out the Wamai ban here. Just knowing how much you have to chew through as the attacking team, especially when dealing with this top floor defense that we're seeing from Mirage. I like the setup, for the record, that we're seeing from Mirage here. It's excluding the bathroom. There's almost never enough hard destruction to make a rotate through bathroom. So you're essentially isolating the avenues that XSET can use to get into the site, forcing them into the tunnel and back bar storage, which you have placed strategically a shield and gates at to make that, that push more difficult. I'm a fan of this setup here from Mirage. I don't know if it's going to work, though, minus the Wamai. It absolutely could. Find out in due course. I mean, who are they going to rotate out for a Wamai, even if they had it available anyway? The mute, maybe? I don't know. That's an extra layer for drones. It's going to slow things down for XSET. Right now, speaking of, on XSET's side, their execution still focused on piano, but no progress yet.
I think Creators has the brass knuckles charm on to add like a +5 to killing potential for Zofia.
I think it does increase your DPS.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
So, just like the R6 share skins, yay!
Esports section of the shop. Check them out now. Directly support your favorite team.
Razor off of the Ash onto the Dokkaebi, and not just onto the Dokkaebi, but a Dokkaebi with an SMG-12, a weapon seldom seen at this level of play, especially after the nerfs that it got a long time ago. Used to be the pocket rocket. Not anymore. Benji's been chased into the bathroom, by the way, on what has been a deceptively quick round. Just over a minute to go here in round number 2, as Benji will play around it, and down goes Jarvis as Dream guns him with the UMP.
That's going to be a good pick there early for Mirage. XSET struggling a little bit more with this one. There's not as much of a roam to clear, and that's part of what makes this site actually good, because you don't have a lot of ambiguity. There's not a, oh, is there someone there, is there not? It's just a direct contact type deal. Quartz downstairs will take out Filthy, who is trying to cut off the rotation of the roamers and apply some pressure to the site. Unsuccessful, but Creators does get one in the Humidor. That's a good answer back, but it's just Mirage on top. Dream with the UMP gets a second, but uh-oh, the clap back for XSET. Thomas has control of Cocktail, and down goes Quartz in white. It's just loading and back bar storage. It's going to be difficult for him to work his way out of this. The gate giving him an indication, but Razor is better on the shot. That pocket rocket you mentioned works for him, and that's a second round in a row for XSET.
There were a couple duels there that I don't think that Mirage needed to take. And unfortunately for them, whether they thought that they could get an upper hand and had information or not, I'm not entirely certain, but it looks like Mirage is immediately going to burn a timeout. Obviously not happy with those first 2 rounds, and given not a full-blown timeout, but effectively a timeout after that very first round on what was the technical timeout. This one will be more tactical. So Mirage burning it 2 rounds in, that is maybe a bit too soon, but I think Obviously, Guerra sees something that he doesn't like and will try to instill in his team that they can come back. And I don't know if Loading has been personally offended, but if you were to read body language, you say, what did you just say to me?
Wait, what happened? What did I miss in the
Look
chat?
at that. Look at the angle on him. It looks like he smelled something really bad. Like somebody was cooking fish in a microwave underneath his chair. It was just, what?
Are we wondering why he's wearing the mask right now? Is that what it is? I'm super confused. I missed something.
No, Quartz is wearing the mask. I don't know why Quartz is wearing the mask, but that's fine.
I mean, better safe than sorry, I guess. It's his prerogative. But yeah. I have no idea what you're talking about. Read the microwave thing. I must have missed something in the chat.
I said
something.
No. I don't read chat in game or Twitch chat.
Really? Obviously not Twitch chat, but the in-game chat. You don't read the in-game chat?
Every now and then I will. I don't tend to look at it. It's just a distraction.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, when Guerra started talking, not Loading was like leaned at an angle where it looked like he'd been personally offended by something that had been said, or he had smelled a terrible smell.
I did not see
and that's why I said maybe somebody was cooking fish in a microwave. You ever microwave fish? People love it.
Wait, people do that? No, I've never done.
Yeah, people do microwave fish. It smells terrible.
Oh my
god.
god.
It also tastes horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're not going to get rid of the fishy taste that, you ideally get rid of when you cook a fillet. You want to make it more neutral, less ocean flavored.
Like a fish fillet?
The finely fried fish fillets. Where is this conversation going, Parker?
It wasn't going anywhere. I was just making a simple observation about how
you're not allowed
looked,
to do that,
and you
Parker.
took it off topic.
You're not allowed to do that.
Who?
Fast.
There you go. Circle is complete. Now we can get back into it. Timeout taken by Mirage at the tail end of that second round. Frankly, that first round looked more like a strategic error from Mirage when they couldn't cover the bomb chassis. They're going to go back to the bomb site. That was not within their grasps the first time around and see if they don't let this one slip through their fingers. But on Cocktail, some puzzling decisions made with a numbers advantage to still take fights. Nyx was in Humidor, as you wisely pointed out. He's going to need to swing because he doesn't really have many other options. He's probably going to die when Thomas gets to the top of those stairs. I get it. But then after that, the Goyo playing off of Lumber at the top of White Stairs, also swinging onto Thomas. I was confused. That's all.
It has been a confusing match so far, Parker, and a lot of the prognostication has fallen flat so far. We've got XSET up 2 on Attack a Cafe. That's a bit of a rarity. Cafe being one of those still, I believe, defender-sided maps, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check that. Yep. Only ever so slightly, mind you, at 54% defensive win rate, but that is still defender-sided. Right now, we're not seeing a lot of the lethality from Mirage that we're used to seeing. And again, one of the big points that I'm noticing is that the off-site play for Mirage has been not wholly unsuccessful. They had some success in the second round, but it's not been meeting the success that it really needs to in order for Mirage to take these rounds. We'll see if this is the changing moment here. Mirage still has control of Bakery, and they're going to use that to avoid the vertical play that XSET is bringing out right now.
I was going to point out in that very first round that the strategic setup for Mirage was good, providing that you don't have to expose yourself to the angles that are opened up on that second floor. Unfortunately for Mirage, they did, and very wisely, XSET was able to open up portions of this floor, like you can see here, where they'll be able to take out the castle barricade on the window and freezer. It's going to allow XSET to continue to stay up there and watch the very easily held rotates. Now, the good news is that Nyx decides he doesn't want to play inside a small bakery anymore. He heads up red stairs, takes out Filthy, and immediately goes back down. Having those Argus cams, the SAM cams as they're referred to as, and Filthy playing on that second floor is incredibly impactful, and that's something for XSET that's not going to be available for the remainder of this round. Instead, someone else will have to take that place, and when the execute comes out, presumably with Jarvis holding onto that diffuser still over by Freezer, there will need to be one more member of XSET positioned to watch. But do they know that Nyx has crept up, playing by the door, UMP waiting? He'll swing on over, lose the fight to Razor. Down he goes. And Razor very narrowly almost takes out Hibana as well. Jarvis rushes on in. There's Toxic Canisters down. Dream looking next to fall alongside Loading as XSET is just clobbering right now. But, hey, Mirage is answering back. Thomas now in a 1v2. He's above. 7 seconds left, and he will have to death drop and try to retrieve that diffuser instead. I think going for kills is the right call but nowhere near enough time to do it. So he'll save the KD instead. Mirage not overcommitting and not peaking more than they need to. And it looks like the timeout worked as Mirage takes their first round.
All right, good job there to Mirage. Well-placed C4 to save the round for them. But that's just it, Parker. The C4 had to save the round. Pulled a lot of slack there for Mirage's overall defense. And that's where I want to bring up something I was waiting to bring up because, we hadn't quite gotten to it. It might seem odd to those of you listening right now, but I'm going to go ahead and lay the praise at XSET's feet here. There's a couple things that are going right for XSET that have, as of yet, through this stage, not really truly gone right for them. Number one, most apparent, XSET's attacks are very quick. They are not wasting time on the roam clear. Yes, they're coming close to the end of the clock, but overall, with the amount of clear they're having to put in, it's much better than what I've seen from XSET in other matches through this stage. So good stuff from XSET on that front. Number two, they have a cohesive strategy for their execution. And even though they just lost that round, I saw the pattern. You could tell the path they wanted to, walk down to attain victory. And I know it didn't work, but it's there. It's apparent. Big difference is being made in short amount of time. XSET has been putting in work. That much is obvious. And they did earn those first two rounds. I wasn't sure if it was just a fluke. And after that round, we just saw it, even though they lost it, a pattern emerges here, Parker. And it needs to be recognized. Mirage, though, good for them. They got their first one.
No, Fluke's an EUL caster.
Oh, God.
And she's great.
Yeah, she is. Really good. One of my favorites.
I thought I was your favorite. Anyway.
You are.
Oh, my. Oh, no. Oh, I thought he was going to. Oh. I was hoping for a run out there from the Valkyrie. For those that didn't see, Nyx heard Thomas go on repel, and Thomas gets to the window. Down goes the castle barricade. Valkyrie scampers off now into reading room.
He was looking through a pixel angle, so you could see like a tiny little crack sometimes through the barricades. He's trying to catch someone repelling up, but nobody did.
Yeah, sometimes it's not the size of the crack, it's what you do with it.
What?
And what he was doing with it was looking through it.
We can't go there, Parker.
I didn't say what it was. It could be like a crack in a rock, a crevasse.
Yeah, that's true. There are these actually.
You're the one who went there anyway. Loading takes out creators. That's the very first kill.
Ever heard of
Cycle through
bouldering?
cams. You keep talking. That's fine.
Bouldering's great.
Oh God, you're not gonna
Really
be you're not gonna be one of those people, are you?
What? That goes bouldering?
It's like the old joke. It's like, how do you know somebody longboards?
I've
They'll
longboarded.
tell you. It's like bouldering. How do you know somebody boulders? They'll tell you.
They'll let you know. Yeah.
Anyway.
I think it's more of a yoga thing too. Isn't that a yoga thing?
I don't know. I don't really care.
Anyway.
You know what I do care about? I care about this match.
Bouldering?
No, I don't care about bouldering. I just said that. Loading.
Oh, sorry, I can't.
Loading gets the very first pick on the creators, by the way. Not sure where creators was, but by taking him out, that's a lot of soft destruction that's now off the board. And of course, when that happens, the utility work falls to somebody else. And that means that both Thomas and Razor will have to try to potentially use the soft destruction they have in ways that they hadn't planned at all. This is a bit unconventional, I want to say. We don't see these trained defenses like we used to. In fact, reading tends to be the site that most teams will go to. But yet, we haven't seen that so far from Mirage. So they know something that we don't.
They probably know a lot that we don't, honestly, Parker. I mean, they are professional Siege players.
Yeah, I'm just a gold one.
Wait, really?
I don't know. I haven't played ranked since January. Anyway, down goes a frag grenade. I don't know if they were trying to take the electric claw off the hatch. It is not successful. Jarvis is wary about getting pushed from 90, so he goes on diffuser, off diffuser, throws out a flashbang. Back on it he goes. Razor will try to protect him. Filthy drops, and Jarvis decides, maybe since there's just two of us, I'm not going to do this. He seeks safer passage over by the actual engine portion of the site. Everybody from Mirage is still up. That means that Razor is going to have to stop this as the diffuser goes down. He's getting spam marks. Nice shot. Traded out. Jarvis in a 1v3, but he can't do it. It's Mirage's site to clean up. Nitro Cell tossed out in celebration, and Benji, the birthday boy himself. Benji Mula. He's going to be the one to get the diffuser, and it's a tie game.
What flavor cake do you think he's going to get, Parker?
Chocolate?
No,
I don't know.
It was a relevant question. It definitely influences how you play the game. So that round, XSET's execution, they had a clear strategy still. It's an older strat, but it checks out. It didn't work out great because they didn't have much control beside the actual part of site they isolated. I think usually when you go for that particular execution, you couple it with pillars control. If you can establish pillars control, that negates all red 90 push, that negates pillars push, obviously, and it's going to help you a lot with the vertical as well, should that become a factor. It wasn't so much of a factor in that round, but still it's a factor. It could be. But we didn't see that. It was strange, Parker, the way that XSET executed there. It was almost exclusively red stairs to site, and that is big risk. Again, that is specifically the older strat. I mean, that goes back to pre-rework cafe, frankly. And yeah, I don't know. They needed to augment it with some other angle. The players in site needed some semblance of coverage. The denial was too easily, accessible for the defenders. They could throw the C4s from just about anywhere. This is just strange execution. I mean, even when they got train control, they didn't fully push into train because XSET had already lost too many bodies at that point.
I will say this. It's hard to quantify Mirage because I feel like a lot of teams continuously underrate them based on a lack of set experience and a newness, and the fact that on their own, nobody on the team has really ever been like a standout high-flying performer solo. But Mirage has been consistently a top 4 team since they joined the NAL, surprising a lot of people, I'm sure. Despite all of this, XSET is keeping pace, and I would dare say that at this current moment in the game, this is the best XSET we have seen yet. They're droning together, they're working together, they're clearing out effectively, it looks like they're managing utility well. Yeah, I mean, there's been mistakes. They're not going to be a flawless team by any stretch of the imagination. They've still got work to do. But I like what I'm seeing out of XSET thus far. And what I'm seeing out of XSET thus far, by the way, is Razor playing Operator Roulette at the moment, and he's landed on Blitz. And hey, can you blame the man? He's 4-2 so far on the day.
Yeah, he gets to do what he wants. He's the top performer right now, not only for his team, but also tied with Dream for first overall. Or early on, so it's hard to say what that'll end up being at the end. Ugh.
Well, 4 rounds in is a quarter of the way, so
Yeah.
or a third of the way, rather.
Sure.
So
Maths on broadcast, Parker. We talked about this.
well, there's 12 rounds, 4 rounds, third of the way. Anyway. I know for certain I got that one right.
Yeah, let's go. All right, so XSET has cigar control. They're going to start throwing out these cameras. Sam cams, as you like to call them, Parker, are going to get good information on the site, and we'll give call-outs to the other attackers saying, hey, you know what, there's one in Cocktail, we could deal with that. Find out where you pre-aim your shots.
Well, this blitz play is just going to soak up all the bullets being tossed out from Benji now to the doorway of Cocktail, playing off of wood, pallets, lumber, whatever you want to call it. And he's going to continue to move forward, maybe at a slower pace than he wants, flicking around the shield to try and take out one of the 2 targets from Mirage who lay in his line of sight. Quartz is the first one to fall, punished by Filthy over by the Humidor. So the opening duel breaks in XSET's favor. 30 seconds left. They'll have to pick up 4 more to secure the round. The objective is also in their hands, and Razor will continue to take up space. Damage being done to Dream as Benji will now toil with the blitz. In the midst of the smoke, no! Benji walks away from it with 2 kills, but still he keeps going! 3 big kills for Benji, and Filthy willing to shut him down! But how about a 4K? Huge round from Mirage, and they're up 3-2.
Benji Moolah, happy birthday indeed. What a round. He puts the XSET in their place. Almost single-handedly taking that one. XSET gets the lead-off pick. It's looking good on the execution. They're pushing down Whitehall. They've got the control that they need with the blitz. But then all of a sudden, Benji shows up, and he gets the kills that were needed. There's one over the shoulder of the blitz. The knife, after the blitz misses his own knife, and 2 pistol kills to cap it off. The man is making rounds for his team. And that kind of star power, when you could just win a round single-handedly, makes all the difference when competing for a top spot in a league. Not just for trying to beat what is currently one of the bottom teams in the league. Well played there too, Mirage. I will say, though, and again, you brought it up earlier, I brought it up before, I'm going to bring it up one more time. XSET had a clear vision for that round. They had a cohesive execution. They were the team in the slot to win until Benji happened.
10 seconds left.
You know, they're putting in the work. So good for them. They are close to taking a halfway split on this first half. So taking at least a quarter of this. We'll see if they can as we go into the final round of the first half.
Still like what I'm seeing out of XSET, and boy, oh boy, I want to review the tape on that Razor play onto the Jaeger. Frankly, I am baffled as to how the Blitz was unable at such close range to effectively take out the Jaeger with the two-piece that Benji had, then immediately pivot and get two more inside a cocktail. Really impressive stuff. And, well, if you're XSET, you still have a timeout, by the way. Keep in mind that Mirage used theirs at the tail end of the second round, and since then they have not dropped a single round. They are flawless. So clearly, something worked.
Yeah.
Either that or it was just coincidence. But, I mean, I'm going to say that it worked. XSET are likely to use it in the second half now that we're in on this. Now that we're in on the final round of the first half, and obviously I think that's the smart move for them to make. A lot of teams will take it on the very final round of one half, and then a lot of times strategy and possible momentum doesn't exactly transfer over. Anywho, back downstairs to kitchen we go on the very final defense, and oh my goodness gracious, Nyx was on cams and he gets pulverized by Filthy. Who knows that he's got more, but he's going to have to look to his right and to his left. Takes out the cam, doesn't understand there's somebody to his left, but it doesn't matter. XSET have control from above. Thank goodness for Filthy that Thomas was there. Wow. Dwindling numbers for Mirage now have 90 seconds left. 3 of them against the 5 of XSET to hang on to a bomb site that so far Mirage is 50-50 on.
That really should have been a refrag for Quartz onto Filthy, Parker. And you're right, Thomas saved Filthy's life and got another kill to boot. This position is definitely not great for Mirage. They could dig their way out of this, but it's going to take some serious play from Benji on Red Hall to make that happen. He gets the lead off, but oh no, there it is! The refrag that XSET needed last round. They get it this time, and they maintain their advantage.
Oh, this is where things get bad, because if you continue to trade out, you can tell from the screen, you don't need to be a professional CJ analyst to understand that trading out does not benefit the team that happens to be towards the bottom in numbers. And right now, that's Mirage, outnumbered 2-1, in fact. And this 4v2 with just over 30 seconds left. Mirage's focus is split. One side looking over towards red stairs, the other was looking over towards the freezer. If it's a drop, then they can maybe make something work. Fooled you. That looked like it might have been a bullet pen kill, but no, it's Razor to take out loading, and now Dream in a 1v4 that very quickly becomes a 1v3. His position known as the drone scoots on by. Waiting to punish somebody over by Whiskey. He's lined up. You can hear the X-Kairos go off, and he knows where the storm is coming from. Unfortunately for him, he just narrowly misses out on the Zolfia. Doesn't the second time. He's going to pivot over towards Freezer. See the X! No way! Dream becomes a nightmare for XSET, and it's a 4-2 scoreline in the first half.
He's living it, Parker. What a play! And XSET fumble the ball just as they're about to pass the line. That was almost the round that XSET needs for the first half. That was almost the round that XSET needs to verify their status as a truly solid roster, a team capable of putting together strategy and calmly and cautiously walking their way to the finish line, walking their way to a win in a 4v1. They almost had it. Now, that's not to say that XSET can't recover going into the second half now. They're on defense. That's the favored side. 4-2, not a big deal. Recoverable. But it could have been so much better. It should have been so much better, Parker. Oof.
Those last 2 rounds, absolute hero plays from Mirage. First from the birthday boy. Happy birthday, Benji. And then, of course, Dream coming in clutch. And would you look at that? On the right side of your screen, Dream has firmly vaulted himself to the top of the score sheet in this matchup with a 9-4 scoreline. Benji not too far behind at 7-2, leaving Razor in the dust. We had praised Razor's play, and he has definitely taken some time to get acclimated to the NA League. He made his pro play debut for XSET when Butters was moved off of this team just a couple games ago. And it is worth noting that while we might be a little rough on the players, that somebody like Razor has only played at a top level for 5 games now. That is a huge adjustment. And it's not even like the old Siege where you at least get broken in on best of threes. No, you have a best of one shootout, and then we'll see you again next week, or, well, earlier on the next day.
Yeah. And frankly, XSET has made a lot of progress since last week. The really crazy thing is they actually won their match last week, but it was just such a weird fracas of a match, I guess is the right word. Now, in this moment right now, I just want to quickly zoom in here because we just had Razor forced out of bathroom by a lot of utility used by Mirage. He's still got his life, though, and he is between a rock and a hard place. He can't rotate through the white hallway because he's worried about the rappel. He can't push out into piano because the rappel. And this is going to be tight. One bullet's all it's going to take for Razor to die. Loading is the one on the cutoff. Benji the one applying pressure from that ticket window. And all Razor really needs to do, and it's what he's doing, is survive. Loading is rotated, though, and that's the window of opportunity. He gets out of there. Oh, boy. That could have gone so much worse for XSET.
So a sigh of relief if you're on XSET's side of things, as Mirage may not know how quickly they came to the very first pick, but they do know how quickly they came to the first pick in the opposite direction. This time it's filthy. So XSET will win the opening duel. Down goes Benji. He's been having a great game so far, and the Zofia being gone means a lot of hurt. You're not going to be able to determine the location of the defenders as readily with those proximity explosions gone, and then of course the actual explosive ends too are no longer available either. So what was a bad set of circumstances from XSET actually goes the opposite way. Now they have a pretty favorable advantage with the final minute to go.
That bathroom reinforcement makes it hard to... really apply any pressure to the site from bathroom as the attackers.
So does poor aim.
And we're not going to talk about it. Okay. We're not. Just going to let it slip by. There goes the nade for Dream. Down goes Filthy. So the answer is late, but it's still there for Mirage. And they're finally back in this round in terms of man count. Opening up the holes into backbar storage is going to make it difficult for XSET to play there as we get into the execution.
Oh, and there's loading to take out Razor as the walls are closing in on XSET. Thomas with the Alda in hand, and especially all the red marks as to where Mirage's location is are primed and ready to greet them quite effectively. Air jab goes off, some of the wall disappears. Jarvis's spot is known. And while he stops the diffuser, but 20 seconds left, and Mirage just snapping around him. Since their timeout, they are a perfect 5-0. They are marching towards victory here.
Marching is the right word to use, Parker, as that felt almost like an inevitability. So it's an XSET timeout here. They're going to take their tactical timeout. They're going to think about this. I think it's an appropriate moment. Did you?
At the tail end of the fourth round, when it was 2-2, I said, you know what? I said, their fundamentals are good. They're droning. They're coordinating effectively. They look like they're using their utility properly. I like their entry. I liked how they worked together. I like how they isolated, read into the defensive setup, and simply beat Mirage in those first two rounds. And you know what? Rounds 3 and 4 were obviously Mirage's, but it was still XSET putting up a pretty spirited effort. And I said, this is the best I've ever seen from XSET.
Yeah, I said the same thing, essentially. So I guess it's team effort, Parker.
Unfortunately, it has not been a favorable matchup for XSET since then. Their coordination has still been okay, but it looks like it's slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah.
So the praise that was given to XSET at the beginning of this matchup might not have necessarily been solely on the shoulders of XSET, but also because Mirage was not playing the game that Mirage knows that they're capable of, which could have been why that timeout was taken by Guerra.
Yeah.
Once again, all we can do is speculate.
Well, like you, Parker, I do think that despite the scoreline, this has been one of the better matches for XSET. We've seen some great rounds from the two that they did win. They definitely earned. There were even a couple that they should have won, frankly. But yeah, it's not always going to roll that way. The question now is, will XSET show us another trait that we have not seen too much from them in this in this stage, right? Really? No, you could extend it to the full season, I guess. And that is the ability to recover from desperate scenarios. This is not an easy situation for XSET, but again, defense, they've got a chance. Although I do think that their attacks so far have been more compelling than the one defense we've seen from them. That last round, they gave up too much ground. They gave up way too much control. Mirage was like, yes, please, I'll take that. And then there was no punishment when Mirage finally started pushing up on bathroom and opening things up. XSET were not able to answer that in any direct way. So, yeah, we'll see if they're able to make some changes here. This time it's going to be a reading dining defense, but with a roam upstairs.
Well, a bit of jostling right now to see what exactly is going to work for XSET, and if you're XSET, you're hoping that the timeout is going to pay the same amount of dividends that it did for Mirage. Problem for XSET is that they don't have a coach behind the bench the same way, so it's just to settle their nerves and have potentially Jarvis, presumably Jarvis, talk them through it. Jarvis, who I will note is having the worst performance of anybody in the server at the moment, just narrowly below creators. And I mean, this is also Jarvis, who I will repeat and was talked about by the XSET players, stepped into the roster last week with only a couple days notice, and then on top of that hasn't played competitively at a top level, if memory serves me correctly, since he was last on the Luminosity roster, which was 2019, early 2020, if I recall.
He's a coach, you know.
I mean, he is the coach, right? But I mean, we've seen crazier things with coaches, and you look at Redeemer on OXG, you look at Lycan on Space Station, Pojo Man on TSM. A lot of these coaches easily on Disrupt. A lot of these coaches were at one point very capable players in whatever role they were assigned. So, like I said, the strength of Jarvis on this roster is going to come from what he can provide in terms of experience, but at the same time, you can't necessarily sacrifice all aim just for experience. You need a little bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and there's a time and a place, right? Like you've got oh, never mind. It's going to be a Maverick trick here on the fireplace wall here for Mirage. Let's get access to the A site. Filthy will be the one tasked with denying him that. Mirage going for a primarily horizontal. That means that XSET are still above and below. The C4 works. Quartz is down. No kill. I'm actually amazed he's not dead to that. But damage done all the same. And loading is also put on the floor. This is going to be a tough one for Mirage, as they've got two players now with 20 HP, assuming loading even gets recovered, and he does not. Great roam upstairs. Benji answers back, though. The sight contact is immediate for these attackers. The shotgun working great for Filthy as he picks up his second. It's suddenly just Nyx pushing in through reading door, and there's a third for Filthy. He cannot be stopped when put in the right position, and XSET will take their first round in quite a long while.
Well, there is exactly what we talk about with these timeouts. Mirage takes their timeout, they win 5 in a row. XSET settled things down, and they looked much more confident, much more assured. Ignoring the fact, of course, that Mirage decided to take a bit of a rusher strategy, or at least a quicker strategy than we've seen before when going onto that bomb site. And funny enough, that's the first time that we've actually seen Reading played so far through the 8 rounds of action. It was train, mining / dining, technically, which is the train component in the middle. That was the bomb site that came up for Mirage. So with that, XSET looked poised. They held control on the 3rd floor well. They used the angles that they had opened up through the walls and through the floor in what was a relatively textbook defense of Reading, giving you that clean line of sight towards the doorway into dining, giving you an angle to possibly shoot through at the feet of anybody, which is where we saw Filthy playing, behind the overturned bookcase inside of Reading with the shotgun in hand. And like I said, this is pretty standard stuff, but XSET held it well. I think Mirage's goal was to try and overwhelm on that very first pick and go from there, but losing both Quartz and loading within the ensuing 10 minutes of 10 seconds of action was a huge problem. Quartz eventually got picked up, loading got finished off, Dream trades him out before he himself is traded out, then Quartz dies, and while it's up to Nyx and Benji, with Benji quickly falling by the wayside, as all the action happened in a hurry.
A hurry indeed, Parker. It's been an interesting and a messy one so far. We've seen some really precise, surgical even play from both Mirage and XSET. And then not. And then not. But I'm liking what we're seeing so far. At least, you know, it's not to dislike for sure. Top floor hold here for XSET. Once again, they do the bathroom full reinforced strat here. Razor put on an island. He's going to actually fall back early, it seems. Maybe he's just, he's just feeling himself out there. He's not actually falling back. Okay. He'll take his ADSs with him, actually. No, he will fall back, yeah. Huh. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about that one, Parker, because we've seen XSET already struggling with giving up too much ground to Mirage, frankly. And, I mean, that's just more given up without contention.
I mean, focusing on White Stairs is fine if you feel like that's where they're going to come to a head and where you're going to end up fighting from. But the last time Mirage attacked on this site, they didn't really focus on White at all. They instead decided to take through Piano and then through the back of Cocktail and through the back of Bathroom, which is where the diffuser started to get planted, and the remaining members of XSET that were isolated were done so over by Cocktail and White Stairs. So it's a similar setup from XSET in this regard. Filthy watching from above now as we hit the halfway point here, Michael, and it's all quiet across the map, but Quartz might be able to capitalize off of this. Does a bit of damage to Thomas from below with the skeleton key and tries for a follow-up, seeing those tracers whiz through the floor, but Quartz can't really make anything happen with it. This is just a game of cat and mouse at this point, as Maestro of Thomas has now made his way on top of the table, and he might actually have a good angle here. Creators leads off the killing onto Dream, refragged by Benji, and a grenade gets tossed down by Nyx. Damage done to Thomas, and Thomas is in a world of hurt at the moment, but he still sees Quartz and is still engaging despite it all, taking a lot of HP away, and somehow Thomas walks away from that one. A bit of a puzzling reaction, I suppose. Oh, Mirage falling by the wayside. It looked like we were going to get a breather here and a pass off to you, but doesn't seem to be happening so gracefully.
Well, we do have at least the pass off as Benji entries into reading. What a shot on a Razor. Must have had a drone for that one. Thomas still a menace from above, though, does half of Benji's HP and damage, meaning that there's more pressure on Nyx's shoulders. Mirage definitely not out of this, though. Here's the push in through the gate. The cam calling this out all the while. No rotate through Bathroom. Once again, such a crucial thing here, and making it really difficult for Mirage to apply the pressure they want to the site. The bulletproof will be dealt with. Oh, no!
No!
Another ADS takes the bulletproof a lot, or lets the bulletproof persist, excuse me. Nade's going in, but prone Jarvis is going to be the one who will hold this angle. Perfect time, and oh, he misses his shots! Thomas is there, but only for one, and suddenly it's a 1 versus 1. With 3 seconds left, Nyx has to push it in. Low HP, Filthy just needs to stay alive, and he'll do just that. That was a lot closer than it needed to be, Parker. But still, the win went the way that you would expect. XSET take another round.
Well, Mirage having some difficulties on that bottom floor and then not being able to do too much with it. The prolonged fight between Quartz and Tommy, I think, speaks volumes about the way that Mirage played that particular engagement and then the entirety of the round. Quartz with minimal support down below. He ended up skirmishing with Thomas for a solid 30 seconds. Or thereabouts. That is an extraordinarily long time for one operator to be keeping another busy. And yes, I know it is a net win for Quartz in that way because he's still tearing up the floor. He's still doing work to dislodge the defender out of Cocktail. And you've also got the Maestro staying off of his Evil Eye cams. All of those things are good, especially if XSET is playing Thomas in a position where he's relatively safe and will be sitting on cams for most of the round. Maestro is always a threat. It doesn't matter if he's engaged early on or later in the round, that Alda is going to do a tremendous amount of damage, and the Evil Eye cams are particularly crucial. But nobody supports Mirage. There's never a call made to try and assist. 2 members of Mirage, one is on the roof, the other is still outside on Balk, and nobody can get in to help at all. All the while, there's a minute left in the round, and it just looks like Mirage were not prepared for the setup that XSET had and couldn't deal with it at all, and XSET worked through it quite well, not giving up too much, and then Filthy playing it smart at the end by not giving up his life.
5 seconds to insertion. ADS deployed and ready to go. Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
As is normal, it seems, with these types of matches, it's either going to be an absolute blowout or it'll come down to the bitter end. And it seems like this is going to be one of those bitter end matches. We're seeing a fight put up by both teams. Quite strong one, really. And there's no established, consistency on who's going to be taking it. In this round, interesting setup. We've got a rotate into Bakery. Been a long time since I've seen that one, Parker. And I'm interested to see how it pans out. It's usually done to alleviate the vertical pressure. So if you're expecting a vertical take, we'll put that rotate. That way you could retake your site. And there's no vertical for Bakery, so you don't have to worry about that.
Well, there you go. Mirage are not going to waste any time at all. They have no intel on Bakery. There's a cam up, so XSET knows exactly what's happening. And the barrage of explosions as well will let them know. So a very quick take, but immediately Mirage thinks better of it, and they peel off of the execute, knowing that they had prep control. They've also got front of Bakery. And they'll continue to work away, not wanting to run directly into the line of fire. It's not Thomas on the Maestro this time, it's Creators. Doesn't matter, though. The Alda is still the same. That gun is just an absolute death beam.
Which one? The Elda?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it is. It's
No,
been that
the
way
bailiff.
for... Sure, okay. I mean, well, there's the Roni, too. People have been talking about the Roni a lot
Yeah,
lately.
I love watching Maestro use the Roni.
I didn't know you were talking about Maestro specifically. Calm down, okay?
You
were
got
looking
one
at a
good
Roni.
ear. You put that to use.
Yeah, I got the one ear. I hear things and also don't. Anyway,
can we talk about
bakery
how after this
control.
timeout, Michael, 2 rounds in a row from XSET, they've looked much
It's
better
working
in
great.
terms of their coordination. It hasn't even been that they've been hitting shots. They just look like they're finally back clicking as a team like they did in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, it definitely is looking a lot better, Parker. They are going to have to use this utility they've got set up well in the round. And Thomas, leadoff pick from Kochek. That's exactly what you want to see. He's in the pivotal position, hitting pivotal shots like that. Down goes loading. Hopefully his air jabs are already placed. And it looks like, honestly, Mirage, they're going to be struggling to find an opportunity to hit this site.
Nyx will be in a duel at the moment with the Jaeger of Thomas, who doesn't know if somebody's coming in that direction, but there's a crossfire established. Thomas taking a ton of damage, trying to return those bullets back to the sender as Benji takes out Filthy, and that's the first member of XSET to fall. But XSET have such a lock on this site that it's Quartz in a 1v4. It's a 1v3 now, but I would argue it's not quite as winnable as fans of Mirage would want. Looks like XSET were able to settle their nerves down and get everything working back in order, as they're about to tie this game up. What looked like Mirage was running away with it has now ground its way down to an incredibly close matchup, and that's the round right there. Unfortunately for Mirage, they've now surrendered 3 in a row, and XSET has momentum on their side. You can see that they are in significantly better spirits than they were just a couple rounds ago, and the game is tied up at 5 rounds apiece.
Yeah, and Parker, I got to say, that's one of the most hard-earned rounds from XSET we've seen in a while. Obviously, we've seen some really well-coordinated rounds. That was one of them for sure. The biggest thing for me, though, massive takeaway, XSET set themselves up for success. I almost said failure because I'm so used to it. Sorry. They set themselves up for success perfectly. The crossfires, the baseline, just like positioning, and the patience. The patience was the most apparent thing. Thomas, in particular, playing inside of Kochek, a lot of players will be moving around when they're playing Kochek. They'll see 45 seconds and they might think to fall back. Thomas played that position as well as anyone could, applying pressure not only to the breach, but to the red hallway. He was also a great distraction, which allowed for more kills to be had from other players on XSET in the site. There were a lot of miscalculated plays made by Mirage as well. Nyx was pushed down red hall. That was not safe to do then. There needed to be more established control before that would be possible. So the setup not only is well thought out by XSET, patiently executed by XSET, that means they're putting faith in their own system, but it's also catching Mirage off guard, which means that it is more intricate than their opponent is ready to deal with. All the things pointing towards just good siege from XSET. And I say that completely with confidence.
This is such a different XSET than we saw last week.
Yeah.
When you look at a 5-5 scoreline between Beast Coast and XSET last week, and I don't mean this with any disrespect, it was not as close of a match as the score would suggest. There were multiple errors being committed by teams. The siege fundamentals were being overlooked and almost seemingly forgotten by professionals. This time around, there's still errors in gameplay. Every pro team, even the greatest pro teams of all time, are going to commit errors. It happens. But Mirage and XSET has been defined by a number of rounds now on what teams have done right and how they have capitalized off of it, rather than that Beast Coast XSET game being off of how many teams did the fewest things wrong. So for a team like Mirage, they're still settling in, they're still finding their groove, and we don't know if they're punching above their weight class because they have consistently been, like I said, a top 4 team since the first couple days of the very first split. But for XSET now, there are obviously very promising signs here. And the fact that they've pushed this now to a 5-5 scoreline, guaranteeing us all 12 rounds, and now a potential lead for XSET, the first lead that they could grab since the second round with that very first kill on to Dream, would suggest to me that XSET are learning from this. Now, I say that right as Mirage picks up 2, and the numbers swing back in their favor. Razor and Creators, unfortunately, putting themselves in the line of fire and being punished for it.
Yeah, a little overzealous, got to say there, for Creators. Don't know what happened with Razor, but the push-up white was not the play. Air jab's already established. Man advantage already established. Don't make that play. You don't need that play. Though, Jarvis does get out just before he would have died, And Thomas with the C4 from below, probably using a Valkyrie cam and one of his dead teammates to his advantage, will get the kill. Now we're at even man count as we come down to the last minute of this round. Jarvis is going to have to put up a performance here. I think if he gets a kill here, makes all the difference, and XSET might be able to take this round as a result.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's only got 2 so far, Michael.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, when you're out of, like, you don't have a lot of kills. Frankly, when you're in that position, you get 1, it really does change the whole flow of the round.
Well, we'll see exactly what they can do. And the advantage for Mirage disappeared. 30 seconds left. A possible sacrifice being committed, though, as Thomas now gives the numbers back to XSET. The swing the other way, though they'll lose Jarvis. You said a kill? Well, he's not going to get one. Filthy trades one off, leaving Benji in a position with 20 seconds left to not deny XSET the lead, but he can't do it.
Wow.
It's 6-5 match point as XSET have now stitched 4 rounds in a row themselves, going undefeated since their timeout. And it's match point in the final round of regulation.
You could see that Thomas is animated, and rightfully so. He earned that round for his team. Remember when we were talking about Dream's star power with the 1 versus 4 clutch on the castle defending in kitchen? Remember that? Yeah, well, that's the same thing here for Thomas. I know it's not a 4K, it's only 3, but such crucial kills, Parker. My God. He definitely single-handedly brought his team out of a pit there and earned that win. And now, XSET are on the cusp of victory. Not quite there yet, though. We've seen them here before, and we've seen them flounder in this position. So don't put all your eggs into this XSET basket just yet.
I mean, I can't help but note how funny this is to me. XSET wins the very first 2 rounds. They look like they're coordinating well. They're playing off of each other.
Yeah.
There's confidence. There's moxie. Mirage calls a timeout. Mirage then wins the next 5 rounds in a row. Gone is the moxie. A moxie-less squad. Mirage wins 5 in a row. They look good. They look coordinated. They get some hero plays. Mind you, 2 of those rounds, especially the rounds where both Benji and Dream went huge in what was essentially rounds 5 and 6, could have very easily swung the other way. And XSET could have potentially won this game already, but it doesn't matter. That's in the past. So what does XSET do? They call a timeout. And the moxie. Oh boy, it has returned. 4 rounds in a row, they can put together their own 5-round streak, seal this one 7-5, but 2 minutes and 40 seconds will determine that. The thing is that the objective play is in the hands of Mirage. And with everything on the line, 1 out right now on the potential vent, Creators decides maybe a vault out is a good idea. Unfortunately, it is not, and he gets punished for it. A first pick goes to Mirage. It's their first opening duel since round number 7, and boy, it couldn't come at a better time.
Yeah, that's not what you do when you're either winning or you're going to OT. That's not the play. That puts the rest of XSET in a desperate position here. And you can see that's why Razor's peeking like he just did from Cocktail. He needs to get the kill back. He needs to get the answer to what just happened, or this is going to become very difficult when it comes to blows on the site.
That's a very bold play by Razor to pre-fire the skylight.
Yeah, he's doing that, though, again, because they're down a man, and now suddenly they're not. That's the difference maker, Parker. It's Jarvis.
It's Groundhog Day. Most of the damage to Quartz was done by the Alda in the hands of none other than Thomas. Thomas playing in the same spot that he was before. Quartz tries again, but to no avail. This time around, he doesn't do anything to Thomas. XSET expects the Bucks' entry to be the same down in reading, and they play them like a fiddle. Fiddle for me, they say. And Mirage does. Nice shot, though, from loading to capitalize off of Razor's position. That was a yellow ping to give him the information, and now Mirage back in good spot, but he'll continue to get tased away. If that Evil Eye opens up, it'll be shot away. Waiting to see if Benji can potentially do something to help. Final minute left. Thomas is wise to the tricks of Mirage and where they're playing over by the table. Red, Jarvis now positioned over by Lumber, waiting to see if somebody will provoke him by White, but nobody's going to go for the fight. Keep in mind that Mirage entried very late off of the balcony, which is exactly where Jarvis is looking, expecting Mirage to do the same thing. Instead, Mirage have assembled their forces upstairs in Cigar over by Piano. The wall will disappear by Bathroom, but it's double reinforced. Filthy doesn't have to worry anything about it. He'll take the head off a Dream. It's a 3-3 with the diffuser down as well. Filthy looking for more, but he gets a little greedy. Benji punishes him for it. The diffuser will need to be picked up, and XSET trails. But for Mirage, somebody will be immobile, but for a moment. Picking away, it's Jarvis and it's Thomas working together. In a 2v2, Nick sprints in. He'll start to try to get the plant down. Benji will need to cover. He can't do it. XSET looking to tie this one up and send us away, but no. It's Knicks now against Jarvis, and he picks up a big kill. The newest player for XSET manages to pick up impactful frags in the final round. And XSET with a clean 7-5 to take the game.
Tommy and Jarvis at it again with the big plays. Thomas, pivotal play with the Alda. He did so much work that round. And we were talking earlier in the match about how if you have a player who's just not performing, not getting the kills, and suddenly he starts doing just that, it makes all the difference. And well, Jarvis sure did in that last round. Still the bottom frag for the match, but you know what? He did all that his team could have asked for, and he got that win for his team. XSET, one of their hardest earned victories through this stage, and certainly the one they are most deserving of, period.
Now, I'm not saying that Jarvis was the answer, but I'm just going to say that XSET are 2-0
Yeah.
and are undefeated. And with Jarvis, Michael, they may never lose again. Also, that by Mirage defeating TSM last week and XSET defeating Mirage this week means that XSET is the second best team in the NA League. All jokes aside, regardless of what happened during the middle stretch of that matchup, there were very clearly some issues that XSET needed to address. The timeout was called correctly. They settled their nerves down. They were able to get back on the same page with that coordination that we saw. They stopped making little mistakes. They started working better as a team. Mirage could not keep up. So many ways we can define games as being the team that screwed up the least, while this game in particular was what teams did well the most. And I would say that between these two teams, XSET was the rightful winner of today's match. They looked like the better team through most rounds. Those two hero plays from Mirage literally came down to a 4K from Benji, a 4K from Dream, clock mismanagement from XSET, but those could have very easily gone either way. If you're an XSET fan, there are some promising signs here for this team that is gradually improving, and we are seeing it before our very eyes. And I don't suspect Jarvis will be a permanent addition to this team, but it is clear that his place on the squad has helped them.
Yeah, and it's great to see XSET's growth in such a short time too, Parker. Congratulations to them for a well-deserved win, but that's it for us. We'll go ahead and toss it away, and we'll see you guys with Beast Coast and Disrupt up next.
What does it take to call next? Follow us for a deep dive into the Rainbow Six community, breaking down barriers, taking you behind the scenes, and showing what it means to level up.
Welcome back to the NAL. And listen, they definitely turned over a new leaf. XSET winning their second game in a row. And this is an impressive one, definitely against Mirage here on Cafe. And fellas, this team looks brand new. I mean, I love everything they're doing right now, and it's starting to show.
Yeah, this is a true test of XSET's strength right here. Mirage are on a proverbial hot streak, so to speak, with a couple of games that went by the wayside, and especially after defeating TSM and doing a lot of things in this game right, like winning massive 1v4s out of nowhere. I thought XSET couldn't bring this back, but they did. Doing this against a team like Mirage doesn't just mean that you've made a lot of improvements in a really short time. It's a statement about what one change can do to your entire team's mentality.
XSET in 2 weeks have tripled the amount of games that they've ever won in professional play.
Let's go.
I mean, it's looking really good for them now. This is back-to-back wins, the first time they've ever gotten that, of course, as a team in Tier 1 professional play. I mean, you go back to maybe their first win against Dark Zero in Stage 1, it may have been a bit fluky. The second one against Beast Coast, it might have been a bit scrappy, but this one really did look like XSET playing like a solid, strong team, and it's awesome to see because I think a lot of people kind of had, counted that out for XSET.
I mean, everybody did. You saw the predictions on the desk, right? But shout out to Thomas, Razor, and Filthy joining the double-digit club. They called him Tim Bomb Tom, but today he's an overachiever. 15 kills, 7 deaths, 2 opening kills undefeated. And Jesse,
yeah.
Do you see the opening kills, opening deaths on the side of XSET?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's basically all them. They lost 4 rounds in terms of opening pick. That means that they got 8 their own, and it was a huge streak. I believe Mirage, they won round 2, they won round 4 in their opening pick, and then they lost 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in a row. Like, that's so many in a row that they just ended up losing, and so it's crazy to me that they went that deep.
And talking about crazy right now, okay. This XSET, they're winning games. We're not used to this right now, Jacob.
No.
How much of